Okay. We already have a couple of people inside, 29 people live with us, and we will be starting shortly. So don't just ignore the countdown time. We're not going to take 10 minutes to start our session. We're going to start a little bit earlier. So let me just quickly stop the video here. And once again, we are live. And thank you, Fitness First Singapore. My name is Nunu. And as usually, I am your host for today's session. We got a very interesting session today. And our partner today will be CT Osteopathy and Physiotherapy. CT Osteopathy and Physiotherapy provides the very best biomechanical assessment, manual therapy, rehabilitation, and complementary general health care. They use a multidisciplinary approach by offering osteopathy, physiotherapy, sports therapy, and other physical therapies. They also provide supplements, sports nutrition, and natural remedies. And joining me today is Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hey.
I'm going to hand over to you to make a small introduction about yourself, where you come from, and give us a little bit of insight about today's topic, which will be sleep, correct?
Yeah, sleep and the process of sleep and how stress actually interferes with your sleep. Yes, that's right. My name is Melissa. I'm a naturopath at City Osteo. I've got a degree in health science and a advanced diploma in nutritional medicine. And I'm also a fitness trainer of about 9 years or so that I have been one. So quite a long time. I've been a naturopath for probably I would say I think it's about the last 5 years plus. I started my naturopathic journey just because I had my own health issues, as a lot of naturopaths do. But the interest in sleep really got me hooked in from early on, because it's such a big part of being a fitness trainer and having the right amount of sleep and having that balance of being able to get up at 5 in the morning to get to the gym. So I was really interested right from the start into making sure that I understood it, so I could help my clients as well as help myself.
Correct.
So
that's usually how we start, right? Like some of us go into this line of work, or your line of work, because we've gone through a process that doesn't necessarily make us feel good, and we learn how to address it, and then we want to inspire other people to do the same. Yeah,
exactly. And you kind of think, what you went through, you understand that other people must be going through that too. So,
correct.
For me, going through what I did, even much younger, going through an illness much younger, actually having that ability to go out and exercise, and then see people that struggle with weight, and then struggle with, not being well, and struggle with, their immune systems, and all of that really sort of got me going for, a long time, and thinking about this is the train of education I wanted to go down. So I started in fitness and then ended up in naturopathy, but it's great because it blends it all together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a really good mix. I'm very interested to learn from your approach today, and also curious to see whether what we are also researching in the fitness industry, and we're bringing to our fitness trainers and to our fitness culture, if it matches with the sharing and the learnings that you're going to share with us today.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, there's sleep has got such a big impact on your exercise, but then your exercise is impacted by your sleep.
Correct.
So, and we'll go through that a little bit later tonight, where I've got a whole bunch of information of how that interrelationship works.
Yeah, that's great. So, do you want me to open the slides for you, or yeah?
Okay. Let's see. Just excuse if you can hear the dog in the background.
I could hear the dog. Well, here in my end, you might hear some doors opening and closing. So it's okay. It's the beautiful thing of doing a live stream. You never know what's going to happen.
That's right. Exactly.
Here we go. Here are your slides.
Awesome. Okay, so the stress of sleep loss and the loss of sleep due to stress is basically what I've decided to call this little webinar today, only because they're so interrelated. I mean, we all know how important stress is. We want to wake up and feel refreshed, but there's so many times that we don't. I mean, you wake up and you feel sluggish and you feel unproductive for the rest of the day. And how many times have you actually gotten to sleep in the early hours of the morning, and then sit there and your mind starts to roll, and you can't think straight, and then you can't turn that little voice inside your head off. So whether it's your workplace or your home life or wherever it is that can create that vicious cycle of that, you know, that noise, that chitter chatter inside your head, that constant thought process that you have when you're lying there staring at the ceiling, there's a big interrelationship with that particular type of stress and actually being able to sleep and have a proper sleep cycle. So that's basically what I wanted to go through today. There's actually, we'll talk about that for quite, you know, for at least half of it. And then the rest of the discussion, I really want to sort of introduce some really easy alternatives to going out and grabbing those pills from, you know, the chemist. Really easy alternatives to actually help you sleep, actually, you know, reduce your stress load and help you get the best night's sleep. There's a whole lot of information out there now about, you know, making sure that you've got a good bedtime routine and having that regular routine in place. So we'll discuss it as we go along. So with the first slide, let me just click the first slide here. Let me just get rid of that because we've already gone over that. The first slide, we wanted to talk about the circadian rhythm. Now, just before the show started, we were talking about actually the rhythm of sleep.
Correct.
And how it's important to, you know, go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time and have that sort of that cycle. So the control center within inside our brain, it's called the HPA. So the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal area is really what dictates this particular circadian rhythm. So within this rhythm, it's basically the cross between cortisol and melatonin. So cortisol's, we'll go into what cortisol is. Actually, the cortisol is actually on the next page here. So cortisol, the relationship between them is both quite interconnected. Cortisol is a stimulating and an alerting hormone. It's known as the body's stress hormone. And I think that's what it gets such a big rap for these days, because it's, you know, who wants to have cortisol?
Yeah, it gets a bad reputation, right?
It does, but it's actually really important because it actually is our stimulating and our wakeful hormone that we actually need every day. Without it, we will be asleep because there's too much melatonin. So we actually have to have that particular balance. So within the cortisol itself is actually placed within the nervous system, and it's that what actually drives the flight or fight response and stressor. So cortisol is the major part, is a major part within the sleep hormone functions, but it's not the only part within the sleep hormone functions. What it actually does is, like I said, it works within the relationship between cortisol and melatonin. So cortisol is the waking hormone, melatonin is the sleeping hormone, and they both work in conjunction with each other in that circadian rhythm. Within the circadian rhythm too, there's during your sleep time, well, actually, as it comes towards the midnight time, is when it's the lowest actual peak time, the lowest time of what the cortisol level is, and that's generally when you sort of get there and you go, right, okay, I'm actually in my sleep zone here. And generally about 2 to 3 hours after your sleep onset is when you get really that best, deepest sleep, because that's the lowest time that the cortisol is actually at the lowest level in your body at the time.
Correct.
Is that what you find as well? When you're sleeping, like how's your sleep in the middle of the night these days?
Nowadays pretty good, because I've been progressively changing a lot of my habits to support that. I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I think you're going to discuss some of those habits and then we can revisit them in later on. But nowadays my rhythm is very set. So usually latest by 10:30 p.m. I'm in bed and I feel sleepy. So I will naturally go to bed around that time. There's seldom some days that I might go to bed a little bit later than 10:30, and that will only coincide if I'm teaching, because I still teach classes in the gym, some high intensity training class that might finish around maybe 8 p.m. And then I do feel that I go to bed a little bit later than 10:30, maybe 11:15 tops.
Yeah.
But that's like that's my threshold.
Do you still feel like you've got that sort of energy after being in such a, if it's a high intensity interval training, you're saying, and that can be quite rigorous at times, which actually drives up your stress hormone.
Yes. If I'm not careful to come when I get home, have a very light meal or no meal at all, because it's quite late in the evening. And if I don't have that care, and then I don't do some breathing exercises before going to bed, I'm just going to be looking at the ceiling waiting for sleep to come.
Awesome. Okay, so this is exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the next slide. So we've talked about cortisol and essentially how it's the stress hormone. So the initiation of sleep actually happens when the cortisol is at its lowest, as we were saying before. So the nighttime wakening, so when you actually have that hyperactivity within your brain and that broken sleep, and the sleep patterns are shortened, are often because we've got a hyperactivity within this HPA axis, so within this area of the brain that actually helps control the circadian rhythm, helps control the cortisol. So all of these sort of things, or this, as they call it, circadian rhythm dysfunction, can often lead to other health issues. So like cortisol levels can be too low, cortisol levels can be too high, and having that imbalance at different times of the day can actually really throw out your sleep cycle. But the thing is that cortisol's really connected with your stress. As we said, it's a stress hormone. And to complicate things, sleep disturbances actually cause stress itself. And then you lie there and you're stressed because you can't sleep.
It's like a vicious cycle, right? It's a vicious cycle, right? Yeah.
So to complicate things, sleep disturbances can actually make the whole functioning, everything stressful, because then you lie there and you can't actually say, I've got to go. So I've got a 6 o'clock appointment. I've got a class to teach at 6 a.m.
That reminds me. This reminds me of a quote from a movie, which is Saving Private Ryan. I've never forgotten about that quote, and I every time I have trouble sleeping, I use that. So there's this particular scene where they're somewhere, and one of the guys just doesn't have any trouble at all falling asleep, right? And this is wartime, stress environment, everything else. So the other guy was asking him, how do you do it? How do you sleep at night? And he was saying, the secret is not to want to fall asleep, is to actually try to stay awake. So it's like reverse psychology.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of, I'm going to force myself to sleep, he says, okay, I'm going to try to stay awake. And then eventually he would fall asleep, which is like funny. Does that really work? To some degree and extent, it does work.
Yeah. All right. So if we move on, why actually do we need healthy sleep? So do you know why we actually sleep? Have you ever thought about why we sleep? Do you know that?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, for me, my point of view in terms of why we physiologically need to sleep has basically to do with our central nervous system. It's the time of the sleep that our central nervous system is actually going to recover, and also because biologically our rhythm is connected with daylight and nighttime, and
that's right. So
most living beings will sleep at night and wake up during the day.
That's right. So sleep's actually really required for optimal functioning of the immune system, restoring your physical and mental energy, your vitality, and actually helps to create a better quality of life. So sleep actually used to be thought of that's when the brain sort of shuts down and sort of turns off and doesn't do anything. But that's not the truth at all. The brain actually works in a really different manner at that particular time. It goes in and takes your short-term memories and makes them into long-term memories and basically files those little things away. It also helps to repair and detoxify. There's actually a system within the brain called the glymphatic system, and actually goes through and helps detoxify, your brain at the same time that you're sleeping. So
Correct.
a little bit of short-term sleep loss can actually impair your cognitive function and your mood and some emotional behaviour. But it's what happens when you actually have long-term sleep loss as well. With that, can actually have a little bit more of a bigger consequence. So long-term sleep deprivation causes serious illnesses, including, I've got it all written down here, so we've got hypertension, dyslipidemia, cardiovascular disease, weight loss, metabolic issues, type 2 diabetes, some cancers have all been somehow connected to having long-term sleep loss. So as the stress causes a rise in cortisol, this actually then causes a negative sleep pattern, which then causes a promotion of negative health effects. So you can see that there's this big interrelationship with negative health effects with high cortisol, because you're not being able to sleep and you're not being able to have that downtime, which then also then increases your risk of depression, increases your risk of increases your risk of injury, and long-term sleep loss. They're giving you those other comorbidities, those other diseases that you want to avoid as you get older, particularly. So if we go on, we can actually see how stress and sleep is such a big bidirectional sequence. It really is something that, people don't sort of understand, where you've got this high stressful job or this high stressful life, and you lie there in bed and you look at the ceiling and you go, I can't get to sleep.
Yeah. Happens to us all at some
point. It happens, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
And like it's going to happen. I mean, you can, lots of things can set that off. I mean, we all know if we have caffeine at a late time at night, we can be sitting there staring at this. So there's other things that can actually induce that sleep loss. But the actual pathway within the brain is shared by the cortisol or the stress, as well as the sleep. So the actual same area of the brain is actually controlled by the same pathways. So sleep and stress share that pathway. It's actually, I've got some research here that shows that it's a complex two-way street between the HPA axis, as we talked about before, being the regulator, and sleep. So poor, insufficient, irregular sleep increases the activity of that particular system all the time. So it keeps it active, leading to more stress, greater arousal, and the time overall and health complications, as I've mentioned before. So the more active the HPA axis, that interferes with the ability to maintain a consistent sleep routine, and not maintaining a consistent sleep routine actually, as I said, is the driver for that stress, sleep, stress, and as you said, it's that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So we've got to really try and make sure that we get this under control, because, as I said, the dysfunction within the nervous system actually leads on to greater disorders that we just don't want to really connect with.
Yeah, I think it's still undervalued. Sleep is still highly undervalued. And I remember that one of the most common questions that my clients would do in personal training when they started exercising would be, oh, no, I'm sore, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, what protein shake or what should I take for recover or something. And usually the first question I'd ask is, how many hours sleep a day are you having? And usually the number would always be below 6, sometimes 5. And I go, okay, so it's not actually a protein shake you need. Maybe further down the road that can support. There's a lot of variables to lead to that, but we need to have a conversation about sleep and recovery first.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to what those particular things can be, because actually a little bit, and a few other slides later, I've actually got some research I was reading today. Actually, no, was it this afternoon, where it was talking about that particular thing where a lot of fitness fanatics
Yeah.
What they'll do with their sleep. So we'll come up to that. That's it's a bit of interesting information. But really, at the end of the day, we really want to try and help ourselves have the best sleep. I mean, if you even walk into a doctor's surgery today and you sit down and you say to him, "Oh, doctor, I'm not sleeping. I really need some help sleeping." The doctor's first instinct is not necessarily to give you drugs to help you sleep.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, and as history has shown, a lot of their drugs that have been given to patients to actually help them sleep have become quite addictive, and they have those really undesirable side effects that you just don't want to go near, because you can be up sleepwalking, you can people don't know what they're doing, they're addictive, where they find then that the stress of not sleeping without those drugs becomes a stress in itself.
Correct.
So there's a lot of things that are out there today that we can actually learn to do to help ourselves get into that restful sleep mode. So one of them is avoiding processed foods.
Which kind of should be a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
I actually call them food-like substances, because processed foods aren't necessarily nutritionally rich for you. So highly refined processed foods, particularly that are going to keep your mind racing at night. So when you go and have those, the sugary drinks, I actually find, before we had this big, thing happen to the world, when people used to go out and I would see people walking down the street drinking these, these energy drinks, thinking, I'm going to stay awake all night.
Yes.
Yeah. But the horrible chemicals that just try and keep your brain awake is, not ideal. So really trying to make sure that our foods that we're eating are clean foods, not foods that are going to necessarily be all non-nutrient dense. Next one is avoiding heavy foods. So, I mean, okay, I want you to think about this. You've been out, you had a good time with your friends, you've scoffed your face with these burgers and these fries and this cheesy stuff. I don't know where the cheesy stuff came from, but it's all this greasy kind of food, and it's like getting late. You've got to get up because you've got a class at 6 a.m. in the morning. And it's like, right, okay, I have to go to bed. And you're lying there, and all of a sudden, all this food is like here.
Yeah,
and you can't digest it because it's just that full of greasy fat. It's just not. It's not healthy. It's not right.
I've had some of those. Yeah, some of those days.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has. But if we're talking about tips to try and help us get to sleep, then this is probably one of them. We've really got to make sure whatever we're eating, if we've got a big day the next day, whatever we're eating has got to be suited to what we're doing the next day. Next one I've got after that is caffeine. Caffeine, including energy drinks, coffee, and your green teas and things like that. So those particular things really late at night. I always say to patients, if you stop drinking your caffeine by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, 3 at maximum, because caffeine actually takes time to go through and be processed in your body, so it's not affecting you anymore. And it takes that amount of time to basically get rid of, so you don't actually lie there staring at the ceiling. Particularly if someone's quite sensitive to the caffeine. Yeah.
Does switching to decaf help, or does decaf? Because I've heard some contradictory opinions about it. Some people say that decaf still has caffeine, so in the end you should not use it. Some people say no, decaf is decaf, so it wouldn't make any difference.
From my point of view, decaffeinated decaffeinated coffee actually goes through quite a high process, as in a processed food, to actually have that caffeine extracted from the bean. So just in that particular process, I say no.
Yeah.
Because I think it belongs into that processed foods kind of umbrella. Yeah, it's not something that I encourage people to. I mean, if you're going to have coffee, if you're going to have a coffee, you got to have
Just
a real
have a
coffee at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to have a hot drink later on in the afternoon, hey, there's lots of herbal teas to be able to have that don't have that caffeine kick.
Does hot chocolate count?
Well, let's go on to the next one.
Sugars, okay.
Yeah.
I'm shooting myself.
Yeah. Look,
No escape.
It's hot chocolate.
If it's hot cocoa without sugar, hot cocoa, and probably with I don't know, maybe some natural stevia or something, or
something like that. That can actually be okay. I mean, the milk in itself can sometimes be quite a relaxant if you're up for drinking milk or whatever substance you have with your cocoa. But having sugars quite late in the evening actually tends to increase your heart rate. So, which then can actually impede the ability to fall asleep. So those particular functions in itself, we sort of want to make sure that we, stay away from.
Yeah.
For the next one, nutrients. So we all know that we have these little messengers within our brain. They're called neurotransmitters. And that actually helps to control your control center within your brain. That actually helps then also to manufacture these particular hormones. So the particular hormones that are connected to, you actually need like a foundation to actually help build these particular neurotransmitters. And some of them are listed here. If you can just move that across so we can have a chat about this. So basically an effective way to help manage high cortisol levels is to include things like your vitamin B6, B5, C. I haven't actually got down here in this screen, but things also like magnesium. So deficiencies within these particular supplements really can drive the issue of not being able to sleep. So not having deficiencies in vitamin B5 can result in fatigue, headache, but also insomnia. Not having enough B6, which actually helps to make your neurotransmitters. Vitamin C is one of the major antioxidants in the body, and not actually having enough vitamin C because of this prolonged stress that we're continuously engaging in with work or whatever it is that's causing it, actually depletes this vitamin C straight away, and it's called vitamin C dumping. In this too, you can actually also have magnesium. Magnesium is really, I suppose, is one of my biggest go-tos when people start saying that they've got these sort of issues. Magnesium is depleted like that with sleep, and magnesium is actually one of the most deficient minerals in our body today. It's not actually found in the vegetables that we eat anymore because the soil that it's grown in is not nutrient dense anymore. So it's one of the biggest deficiencies I find. So magnesium itself, there's 11 different types of magnesium, and they all have different roles. And someone will just go to the counter and say, oh, I'll just go and have, a magnesium, thinking it's the right sort of magnesium to get. But there are different types of magnesium, and I always recommend a magnesium biglycinate, which is a glycine molecule attached to a magnesium. Actually really helps with that calming and that relaxing kind of phase that you need to go into. It doesn't make you go to sleep. It just helps with that sort of
helps you relax.
That sleep onset. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's go on to the next one. I've actually got some about our herbs. Now, me being a naturopath, I've done 5 years of study into herbs. One of them I just love. Now, its name is Ashwagandha. Now, a lot of people in Singapore know what Ashwagandha is, but its botanical name is actually Withania. It's used a lot, actually, I find, when you go and actually find like a sports supplement, it's actually in quite a lot of sports supplements themselves. Because
I've heard about, that's where I heard it first.
Yeah, it actually is like when you've got overrunning cortisol, this is one of the go-to herbs that you can grab, and actually really helps to normalize those cortisol levels in the HPA. So it actually helps to counteract anxiety. It helps to promote a calm state of mind. There's lots and lots of studies on it, which helps to show, the reducing ability that it has of bringing down that anxiety that you feel. It actually also helps with that onset of sleep. So it helps with that restful period where you sort of, you get there and you have that wind down time before you go to bed. Another herb, next, Magnolia. Magnolia is actually an interesting one, actually. It's been found to be really great with anxiety, mild depression, actually helps with Alzheimer's disease, impaired memory, insomnia, and sleep disruption. It actually has been shown to help with the GABA receptors. Now, I know you don't know what GABA receptors are, but GABA receptors are those excitatory little receptors in your brain. It helps to tone them down. So you have, it actually helps to quieten those excitatory receptors in your brain. Actually helps that sort of quiet time. Improve mood, improve your relaxation, and induce a restful sleep. So there's been quite a bit of research that's been done on this particular herb. It's actually a flower, or plant herb that has been quite useful in herbal medicine. Next one we've got. Let me go through some more Magnolia. Licorice root. Lots of people know about licorice root, particularly here in Singapore. It's actually known as an adrenal helper. So the adrenal helper within the same area of our brains where our adrenal glands are, it actually helps to help that cortisol dysregulation within the brain. There's been plenty of studies on the many different facets that licorice root can help us with, including the retention of sodium and the retention of magnesium that actually helps us to calm down. But also in traditional Chinese medicine, it's actually shown to be beneficial to all the body meridians. One of those things being reducing stress. So when it actually is in line with all the body meridians, it's quite an overall calming herb. Next one we've got, there we go through again, another licorice root, sunlight. So who knows what sunlight gives you? Sunlight actually, when you actually have not lights, not just, the lights that are in the house, but actual sunlight induces the melatonin in your body. Melatonin is the hormone that actually helps you sleep. So actually being out in the sun and getting a good rays of sunlight will actually help increase that ability to sleep at night. So it's funny how it actually also works, but it's that, as we were talking about before, that real cycle of day and night actually works so well in nature, because you go outside, you go and get all of that nice sunshine on your skin, making sure you're not getting burnt at the same time.
Yes.
I always say about 20 minutes or so on your bare skin actually will really help to synchronize that melatonin within the body. And give you a better night's sleep. Not the artificial lights, though. Yeah. Some other points I actually wanted to sort of bring in here too is that there's some other known tricks. I mean, yes, you can have a nice lavender bath before bed. As you said, you can drink a nice cup of tea, a nice cup of cocoa with no sugar, but really create a wind down time.
Yeah.
Like that one, people sort of think they're going to go to bed and they'll wind down in bed. It's all right. I'll get my computer, I'll finish work, and I'll go straight to bed, because everyone's working from home these days.
Winding down using this, winding down using this, and then getting exposed to artificial light.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah,
I was saying to someone today, you need to have a wind down time away from bed.
Yeah, our wind down is more of a wind up.
Yeah. So just have that relaxation before you actually even going into bed. The next one I wanted to talk about, again, is, like you were saying, the blue light filters. Blue light filters. Yeah. So we all know that the screens that we're looking on, particularly like the screens that we have here, all emit a blue light. Now that activates our pituitary gland, again, that control center that actually keeps us awake. So because of that this particular light stimulates us, and we're lying in bed, we've got our phone there, we're on it, and constantly before we shut our eyes to go to sleep, we're having that inducing stimulation. Get rid of it. I even say to people, just put it all down. Have some time without your screen. That's the best advice. Next one. Okay, we're going to talk about exercise. We've got to talk about exercise, because how does exercise actually help you sleep better? So exercise helps you sleep better, period. It's you don't want to be having all that built up energy that's from your food and your actions you're doing every day, but you got to get rid of it. Exercise actually is also one of the best ways to help get rid of that excess stress that you have. Although it is a stress inducer, it actually has been shown that boxing, for instance, getting rid of that particular tenseness actually is really good for offloading that cortisol.
Yeah.
So sleep and exercise is actually a necessary partnership. So I was actually saying to you earlier that I was going to bring something up that I was reading today about some research, and comes as a surprise, but there's some people in the fitness industry, I used to be one of them, that actually puts their fitness and nutrition ahead of their sleep.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, I would come home and I'd finish a class at, 8 o'clock, 8:30, come home, I'd have something quickly to eat for dinner. I've got to be in bed really early because I've got another one at 6 a.m. And I'd be wrecked. I ended up having an injury. I ended up having, a sore ankle. I ended up having other issues where I just was not sleeping. And it was because I actually put it ahead of, all of this ahead of what I was actually trying to achieve. So even though social media content consistently promotes diet and exercise as being the cornerstone of health, you have to include sleep in there. Some of the best athletes in the world actually have their sleep schedule because they know how important that is, for recovery.
Absolutely.
So sleep. So I've got some benefits here of exercise. So it helps you recover quicker, increases your aerobic endurance, improves your speed, accuracy, and reaction time. Sleep is a part of the most crucial aspects of your muscle contraction and protein building. It allows for greater exertion during a workout. It actually decreases inflammation.
Yep.
Keeps your testosterone levels high and lowers your risk of injury. So that's just a few things that actually sleep does actually help you while you're working out. But how does it work the other way? So increasing the time spent in deep sleep. Exercise actually helps you increase the time you sleep in deep sleep. Helps reduce your stress, enhances your sleep quality. The only issue is it's a bit of a juggling act. So making sure that we actually have the quality sleep that we want. One of my next one after this is one of my biggest, I love this is creating a sleep sanctuary.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this?
Yes. So, some of the things that you have there is, I can and cannot do, but getting pitch black,
really
pitch
hard,
black,
isn't it?
cool, so slightly cooler, obviously reduce the amount of electronic devices in your room if you can, or zero if you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the other things I find is investing in some really good sheets. You want to be there comfy, cozy. Hello.
Yeah.
Making sure you've got a good pillow, having a great mattress, making sure there's plenty of ventilation, and if you're going to be burning any sort of oils, make sure that they're not the commercial made oils. Get real essential oils. that actually are pure instead of, the chemical filled ones. I always find them always to work the best. Next one after this is, where's the alcohol? Sorry.
That's an easy one. That's an easy one for me because I actually don't drink. So that one's easy for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
One for me. Yeah. It's funny because alcohol seems to be the best remedy, as people would think, to go and to take to before actually bed. Induce sleep, to relax, where alcohol actually affects the control center of the brain in itself, and there's going to be a struggle eventually once the effects or the sedating effects of the alcohol have worn off. Your particular sleep-wake cycle then is affected for the rest of the night, because you may have been induced into something that was quite deep, but then that wakeful period you actually end up having a more lighter sleep, and you wake up more often.
Yeah.
Your sleep rhythm is so disrupted with that. Another thing too, on a huge topic though, is your gut health and alcohol. So alcohol induces leaky gut. Leaky gut is then connected to your brain health as well. So I'm not sure if many people have heard of the gut brain gut connection.
The pathway. The
pathway.
Gut brain pathway.
That's it.
The second brain, first brain.
That's exactly right. So
yeah.
When the gut's affected by alcohol, it actually can be broken down, and like I said, can cause leaky gut, and then therefore the brain's affected. So actually having alcohol going to bed is going to affect both of those areas of your body, which we sort of really need to be chilled out at that time of the night. Another thing, let's see. I think I've got one more. Create a sleep routine.
Sleep pattern. Yeah.
As you said, go to bed at the same time. Our bodies are actually, even from a young age, intrinsically the sun comes up, the sun goes down. It's a routine. It's what happens. We go to bed. We go to bed at the same time. We get up at the same time. It's really great for our sleep quality and sleep health. To have this particular routine. Our body then gets to know, have that wind down time, put the screens away, have that wind down time. Our body then is really getting prepared. It's going, okay, I'm getting ready for bed. It's about time to go hop in, and you sort of feel yourself really trying to wind, or really actually then winding down. And that sleep routine is, I find, essential. If you manage to be able to get the sleep routine and then your early morning routine in check, you set yourself up for a really great, successful day. But that's a whole other subject, doing a whole morning routine.
Yeah. Yes. The wake up is also equal. How you wake up is also equally important, because it's going to set the tone for the whole day. Also.
That's it. Yeah. There's a guy who wrote the book called The Miracle Morning. Is it Ed Howland? I can't remember his name. But he actually, he talks about to do within the first hour of actually being awake. There's six things to do, being, journal, meditate, exercise, all of these things he's got to actually help you set yourself up for the best day. And it's been shown to actually help set yourself up for a better night's sleep as well, having that routine in the morning.
Yeah.
Another way too, I think this is maybe our last slide here, is actually meditation. I find a lot of people who need to meditate actually can't, because they don't know how to. I always say trying to start practicing some gratitude first, being thankful for the day, and getting used to sort of, telling yourself that, thanks for, and, forgive for this, and actually showing that gratitude first, and having that awareness within the brain. Because once you start being aware of those sort of little things, it can actually help you control the bigger things, being that little chitty chatter in your brain. So meditation's actually, I always say, if you try and get your practice of gratitude in first to help improve your mental health, And then your mindfulness, and then mindfulness meditation comes into play. It all sort of has that sort of interconnection. So we all know that meditation actually, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, is really, really great for, as we were saying, setting ourselves up for that successful day. So those, but like for me, I find this is the number one stress reducing practice that you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two things that also made the biggest difference in me, which is, I mean, I didn't call it meditation. I called it breathing exercises, but in the end of the day, it's a form of meditation. It was including that in my practice. And then when we, on the topic of the wake up, it's for the first half hour to 45 minutes of my wake up, not touch my phone. Yeah,
well done.
Yeah. So the first light exposure that I get is natural sunlight. I just open the curtains and then not touch my phone until I've done my morning routine, which can be whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the best way to set yourself up for a great day and a great way to reduce your stress and have a great sleep at the end of the day. So, I mean, all of these tips are I don't expect people to sort of put them all into their little tool bag and be able to use every single one of them. But if you can take something out of even if it's just even if it's a couple of these little suggestions to actually help induce that sleep at the end of the day, you're on your way there.
Yes.
It's the interrelationship between your stress and your sleep is so connected, and actually trying to help keep that at a calm level, particularly as you're going to sleep. Put away those devices, even like you said, try and breathe. And it's not breathing from here; it's actually breathing from deep down in the lungs and having that breath work, diaphragmatic breathing. That's right. Yeah. You don't have to go off and become a Wim Hof going soaking in.
I don't. Well, ice baths are still not part of my routine. I haven't reached that point yet.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of ice baths.
Look, I'm not. I don't mind being in Singapore from being in Melbourne. Melbourne's quite cold at the end of the day. I quite enjoy that here because it's not.
I mean, like biodiversity, right? We are so many, and in many ways so unique. I don't think everyone's meant for the cold weather, as some people are not meant for the hot weather. I'm definitely made for the hot weather. I realize that, even though I'm from Europe and I'm from Portugal, but I react a lot better with hot weather than I do with cold weather. For some reasons.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
But look, I hope that everyone's got some little tidbits out of the suggestions tonight.
Yeah.
I'm quite open to. I think on the next slide here, there's a scan that you
QR
guys
code.
can. QR code. That's it. Thank you. I can actually. You book in for a 15-minute free consultation. We have a chat about, what issues you're going through. If there's something I can help you with, that's I'm quite open for that. So I invite everybody to give us a call.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah, so not only we have that QR code that you can share on screen, but we're also going to be sharing the slides at the end of the session, so everybody's going to be able to download the slides. We do have some questions on the chat that we might want to get through. So let me just quickly stop the slides here for a little while. And let me look here at the chat. I will go from top to bottom and then go through the questions there. We have Lydia. Lydia is asking us that she says, my teenage daughter falls asleep easily in the day despite having 6 hours of sleep, but she has a problem to stay awake in class. What could be the cause, and how can she help her daughter?
So she's falling asleep in class even though
during the day,
and she's having how many hours sleep? Did you say
6 hours?
It could be the quality of sleep that she's having. It could be there could be it sounds like there's not a rising high enough of the cortisol within the first bit of the morning. I would suggest maybe for Lydia to give us a call and have a chat about that. I think there could be a few different reasons as to why and how tired she's getting during the day, whether or not it could be food that she's eating that actually, a high glycemic food can actually sort of teeter over and make you sleepy. Like, having a bowl of rice, for instance, sometimes can make someone that actually will have some sugar dysregulation actually nod off. So it could be food related. It could be what sort of quality of sleep she's actually getting. If she is, and 6 hours of sleep, I would think for someone going to school is maybe not enough. It's been shown that teenagers actually need to have a bit more sleep than that. So I would definitely recommend that going to bed a little bit earlier, just to start with, getting off the screens, just to start with, even a couple of hours before they go to bed. But if she's got any further questions, to give me a call, because there could be a number of different things going on there.
Great. I think that's, for me, I found that the sweet spot for me is 8. I just program 8 hours. Sometimes I wake up before 8, before the 8 hours. I wake up around 7, maybe 7.5. But the good thing about me is lately, for the longest time, I wake up before the alarm clock, which feels great.
Yeah,
I don't like waking up with the alarm. Yeah. So my rhythm is set, which is good. So maybe
awesome.
about 15 minutes before the alarm rings, I wake up.
Yeah.
And I instilled the habit of, I'm just gonna sleep and wait for the alarm, which I used to do. Now, if I wake up, I'll just stand up, because I really don't like the alarm. Really. And I hate snoozing. I don't like snoozing.
Yeah,
I hate
snoozing's like a bad habit to get into.
It feels worse. It feels worse.
Oh yeah, because and you're not setting yourself up again. Hitting that snooze button all the time is not helpful. But I definitely think for was it Lydia? Is that what her name was? Sorry,
Lydia.
Yeah, I think for her daughter, if she's not getting, I was just thinking, as we were talking, there's some research that says that children actually or teenagers need more of that sleep, more of that downtime, because their brains are still growing. They're still, they're like that sort of sponge. So I would actually think 6 hours is definitely isn't enough.
A little bit lower, right? Yeah, because that leads to the next question. Another one of our participants asked, which was Chisu asked us, what's the relationship between age and amount of sleep? Like, younger people need more sleep than older people.
So again, yes, younger people. It's been shown that younger people, particularly teenagers. I know in some of the Western countries, they're actually looking at moving the school time to being a little bit later, because they tend to be a little bit more nocturnal. They tend to be, need sometimes even 10 hours sleep at night. So where an older person will have a little bit more of dysregulation within their neurotransmitters as well, because as we age, our sleep is disrupted more because of those neurotransmitters within our brain. Sometimes it can be to do with our gut health, because our gut health actually deteriorates as we get older as well. So there is definitely a reason why the kids need optimal sleep, and the reason why sometimes even as you're getting older, you just sort of, you sit there and you feel like, I know, for instance, my parents-in-law, like, they're in their 80s, and my father-in-law's up at 3 a.m, just trying to tune things out. But and it's most of the time it's got to do with the aging neurotransmitters just aren't the same, particularly at 80.
But I think the rule of thumb will be, the average will be 7 to 8, right?
Yeah.
For most people, 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah. Yes. I would think. Sometimes some of the older people can get away with having 6 hours, because often you'll find that as they age, they can nap during the day too. They tend to have that sort of sleepiness.
Yeah.
But But the young people, like people that are going to school doing lots of activities, definitely need to have a bit more sleep.
Yeah.
Actually, they need sleep to grow. So you need sleep to grow and recover.
Yeah, because there's a direct relationship with natural growth hormone and release of natural growth hormone during sleep, which helps a developing teenager or child to reach maturity and if we're talking from a fitness point of view, for those of you who enjoy bodybuilding, that's when you get your gains. It's actually during recovery and sleep time, right? I remember this huge bodybuilder named Dorian Yates, and he was massive, like Mr. Olympia, like 3 or 4 times. He was massive, and he basically his routine was 4 times a week, not like 6 days or 7 days a week of workout. He would work out 4 times a week. Yeah. And he would predominantly focus on his recovery versus the increased volume of training. Exactly. Intensity high, of medium volume, and then a lot of recovery.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Do we have another one?
Yeah, we have a lot. Let's go for our last question so we can wrap up. Angela Fu is asking us, after a good morning workout like a circuit training, is it okay to feel tired and catch 40 winks? I don't know what she means by 40 winks. Would that be like a nap, a power nap?
Yeah, 40 winks is actually power nap. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a new expression for me.
Really?
Yeah, I never heard that expression before.
Yeah, I think you might even be able to find that on if you Google it, what it means.
Cool.
But 40 winks just means
nice
you're having a little kip.
A power nap.
A power nap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that after a really exerting session in the gym, I wouldn't necessarily go and sleep. Because it can actually, cortisol, you will have that up and down cortisol level during the day. It doesn't sort of stay in one line. It does dip and rise again. But I find napping or 40 winks during the day, I always say it's a bit of a no-no if we're trying to create a good sleep routine at night. Yeah. If you're finding that you're really tired, maybe even going for a little bit of a stroll, just to wind down, because obviously if you've been in the gym and you've got home, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm just, we have wrung ourselves out. We can actually feel tired. Depends on if we've had something to eat and it's actually shot our blood sugar up, for instance, as well. There's a lot of things that can have to do with actually feeling like you want to go to sleep. But I would definitely say that a nap afterwards is not recommended. I would say a recovery is, going off and having a walk, having something nutritious to eat with lots of protein after a workout like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it can also
recovery with water.
Yeah. Sometimes it can also have to do with too much workout. There is such a thing. Like your sessions are too close together and you're doing a lot of high intensity, particularly high intensity training. High intensity training is very trendy now, and the guidelines state that you should probably do 2 sessions a week max, and they should be at least 48 to 72 hours apart from each other.
Yeah. Because that actually allows for that repair in between. Yeah. So I myself did quite high intensity training for probably the last 10 years, and as you were saying about the weightlifter, I did quite a lot of weightlifting, and I only did 4 days a week because I found if I did any more, that how tired and fatigued I would feel, and even trying to get up the next morning at 5 a.m. in the morning to get into the gym to start, throwing around the deadlifts and the snatches, it just became, you really have to, because the intensity was a lot, and then you need that time to repair for your body too. But in relation to actually napping after a session, I think that you need to. There's a lot of anomalies that you probably need to look at. if that's how you're feeling. It's, whether or not you're drinking enough water or you're sweating too much, because, you're not having enough water can actually make you quite tired as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
I mean, this is wonderful. I wish we could stay here and talk like for another 1 or 2 hours. I think that would be great. But I think some of the people actually want to start to wind down.
I was going to say, and it's going to be towards
some of them might be waiting to go for dinner or something like that. So it was great having you, Melissa. I think I learned a lot, and it was great to listen to you sharing with us your presentation. I will release the files now, so don't go away yet. Don't everyone just start disappearing and hanging up the call on us. You will see a pop-up now on your chat box. You will see a pop-up now on your chat box where you can actually download the PDF with the slide deck. It's also got the QR code there for you to reach out to Melissa. I know that we have Simone on the call and Rosalind also on the call. They put some links on the chat where you can click to get a 15-minute follow-up session with Melissa if you have some additional questions. And Lydia, you asked the question about your daughter. Probably give Melissa a call and book a 15-minute to have to get a little bit more in-depth insight about what could be happening, and then some solutions for it. Again, each case is individual, and what works for some people might not work for others. It's always good to have an individual, personalized consultation. And I'll hand over to you again, Melissa, to say your goodbyes. Anything else you would like to say, and then I'll close this.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining. It's been great. Thank you very much for allowing me to come on and have a presentation today. Click on the QR code at the end. Give us a call if you've got any questions.
Nice, great.
Awesome.
From us at Fitness First Singapore. I'll also bid you farewell. I'll see you on the next section. We will have sessions also in October coming up. Melissa, it was a pleasure to meet you. Let's keep in touch. And I will leave you with a video from Fitness First as an ending. And hang in there, hang strong. I know there's some things, there's all these regulations and new restrictions coming in. And first we're out, now we're going to stay home. Now we're going out.
Who knows where we're at?
when is this going to end? But we just got to keep doing our part and stay strong and hope to ride out this other wave that's coming in, and then we'll all come out on the other side stronger and better and back to normal whenever that's going to be, which we still don't know. But fingers crossed, everything will be okay. See you all soon. Melissa,
thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you next time.
That moment, you become stronger than your excuses. That moment, you surprise even yourself. That moment,